Okay, so welcome everybody. This is a creator exclusive webinar. It's one of our primary benefits of being a Wanderful member. And so small business members and creator members all get a chance to attend these awesome webinars that will up-level our skills and make us awesome creators. All right, so we want to know who you are. Please drop a note in the chat and introduce yourself. Let us know, where in the world are you today and what's going on in your world? It is summertime here in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm in Los Angeles. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining, and I'm really looking forward to a day. It's earlier for me than it is for those of you who are on the East Coast. So I am looking forward to starting my day. Okay, so just a quick reminder, we are heading to downtown New York City for WITS 2025, and it will sell out. It sold out last year in Utah. Don't forget to register as soon as you can. As a creator member, you get a discount, and as a small business member, you get a comped ticket. So go ahead and register ASAP because it will sell out. We don't know when it will sell out, but it will sell out. Okay, so just to give a quick reminder about all the things that we have coming up in August, in July and August. So today is our drone webinar with Christine Lozada. And then coming up on Thursday, we have our monthly mastermind on tour experience creation with the awesome Nikki Padilla Rivera. So if you're somebody who is creating tours or running tours or just thinking about running tours, or if you're experienced and you just need some questions answered, she's your girl. She has all the answers. On Tuesday, July 16th, we have the monthly mastermind on speed pitching. And this is with Rachel Levitt, who is the managing editor for Fodor's Travel, and she wants to get you published. And she knows that it can be frustrating out there, getting constant rejections and a lot of no's. And if you bring your pitch to this mastermind, she can evaluate it for you and help you get it published and let you know some things that you can do to improve your pitching, if anything, because sometimes it has nothing to do with you at all. And it's just it's a timing thing. So take a look at that. Both of the monthly mastermind are generally not recorded. So the tour experience creation is recorded for about the first 15 or so minutes. Nikki has a really quick presentation. You can find those recordings in our hashtag content library, and that is a searchable library in the Mighty Networks Hub. And the pitching webinars are not recorded at all. Those are just so that you can feel free to pitch whatever you want. You can share your pitches. You don't have to worry about other people hearing your work in progress. So on the next webinar we have is Monday, July 22nd with Katerina Topal. She is sharing her photography skills. And if you have any questions about using your DSLR or even using your iPhone camera and working on composition and lighting and capturing stories, this is a good way. Again, it's not recorded. This is intended for you to bring your specific questions to her. So no shame in being a beginner and not knowing what to do. She's here to help you get started. It's also really powerful for people who've already been in the game because she has already been in the game and she has all of the background and recommendations for you. Oops, I went forward too much. Okay. And then in August, we have our monthly mastermind on blogging with Brittany Roberts. And again, she is a wealth of information. This one is not recorded, so you'll have to attend live if you want to get that benefit for it. And she has so much information about blogging. If you have any questions, bring it on Thursday, August 14th. And then that brings us to our blog. So as creators and small business owners, I know you have a lot of things to say. So this is your opportunity to contribute in a meaningful way. And these are paid opportunities, guys. So for the blog at sheswanderful.com, there's a form, you can submit your idea, you can submit your pitch, if you will, and you have the opportunity to leave your mark on the Wanderful platform. So that is also available to all creators and small business owners. And last but not least, we bring you to our awesome presenter of the day, Christine Lozada, award-winning travel creator, drone educator, speaker, and podcast host, helping millions to travel smarter on YouTube. And today she's going to be talking about drones. She is your queen of drones. She knows everything. She started from scratch. She is self-taught, and she will teach you. it is not as hard as you might think it is to get started droning, and I'm really excited to see her presentation today. Thanks for coming, and let's begin.
Yes, there are so many fun things that are happening in the Wanderful community. I love that. Thank you, Akemi. I appreciate the introduction. I'm super excited for today. I have a presentation that I'm going to bring you through, and I know that actually this is being filmed on Wednesday, July 3rd. In theory, you should be working right now or doing something. So if you catch this in the replay, there are ways for us to connect through the Wanderful Hub and beyond afterwards. So don't sweat that part. Akemi, can you see my screen okay?
I can see your screen great.
Fantastic. You can leave it here. I got it moving forward. All right. There's a lot of things that we can talk about with drones, but I have two things I really want to focus on. One, keeping it easy. It's significantly easier than you think. There's just a lot of noise out there in terms of content that makes drones seem harder than they actually are. And the second thing, I really want to spend time debunking a lot of the myths. I've been flying a drone since the pandemic. And in that time, I've realized, wow, people have like painted the wrong picture about drones. And so in today's presentation, there's a couple things you can expect to walk away with. You'll have an understand of, if you don't know what drones are on the market today, like, oh, what's out there? I'll give you kind of just an overview of that landscape. And then I'm going to talk to you about, like, literally, what is it like flying a drone if you don't have one yet? And you're just like, oh, what is it like? I'll kind of walk you through what that's like. By the way, my mom does it well. The only time she's bad at flying a drone is when she forgets her eyeglasses. Otherwise, it's very easy. And then you'll have a general understanding of the laws. A lot of people get caught up on, oh my gosh, what are the laws? What are the regulations? What's happening right now? And you'll be able to walk away from this presentation with knowing what drone to get, if that's right for you, and tactics that you can take before you even consider going to the store. And also, I'm also going to leave you with an idea of, I mean, we're creators here. What are some of the opportunities that you can start to get a taste of that you can get with your drone? Because for me, I'm going to be totally honest, having a drone is one of the easiest ways to get jobs and to get paid. And I want you to understand there's room for everybody, and there's room for you to get a drone and find tons of work as well. If anything, I mean, just think about it. How many gross and ugly drone photos have you ever seen? Probably none, right? That aerial view is something everybody wants. And so this is the agenda we're going through today. And let's just dive straight in, starting with the landscape of drones. Hi, I'm Christine. I've been fine. You'll learn about me later. I've been part of the Wanderful community since the pandemic, have done several drone presentations and workshops within Wanderful. Excited to be back. Such a great community. There's one of the things I love about is how supportive everyone is for each other. So these are some of the resources I have on where you can find more info about what I do with drones, but both my DMs here on the Wanderful platform, as well as on social channels, I'm at Christine Lozada everywhere, are open. So feel free to send me a message. First thing I want you to know is that drones are easier and safer than you could possibly think. And I think about this in terms of, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm not a youngin'. And so things like cassette tapes is what I used to listen to when I was a kid. And now it's like streaming music, Spotify playlists, and drones have seen the same thing since 2015. Drones have been around for a long time, but in a bigger, more consumer way since 2015. And the advances that they have made are significant. And we'll talk about that more as we look at the layout of drones on the market. The other thing about them is they've gotten way safer. A lot of people get caught up, going back to myths debunked. Oh my gosh, like, what if I accidentally do something wrong? There's a lot of things your drone just won't let you do. I mean, I almost think about it as in terms of like how annoying some of the new technology in cars are today. Like, for example, if a parent wants to, you can stop your kid from going over 60 miles an hour by putting a little safety thing on the car. Same thing with the drones. You can tell your drone, make sure I don't do something illegal by, you're not allowed to fly higher than 400 feet. You just put a little safety thing in, just literally push a button. Don't let me go higher than 400. Boom. It will do that for you. And if you forget to do that, there's a very helpful little voice within your drone controller that will be like, oh, you exceeded 400. Like, you're not supposed to be there. And like, oh, I had no idea. And then like, you just bring it back. Things like what you see on the screen is when I was at TravelCon, I did a drone workshop. This is the Memphis airport. You can see there's a red area. We'll get into maps later. It's just like Google Maps, literally. But if you're like, oh my gosh, what if I accidentally fly somewhere I'm not supposed to? Your drone won't even take off. If you try to take off at the airport and you keep trying to launch it and it doesn't work, that's because that's built into your drone. And so there are things about drones that are easier than ever. Another big myth that's out there, people are like, oh, but what if I do something on accident? Like, what if I launch my drone on accident, for example? This is, if you can see it in the background, this is a screenshot of what the drone is looking at. That's me and Laura. Laura's part of the Wanderful community as well. Travel 80 by 80. I was teaching her how to fly a drone when we were in San Diego. This screen you see here, you have to hold your finger down on the takeoff button and you have to wait for the whole green portion to go around the entire circle. And it's like, take off. And I share this example because your drone is basically saying to you, are you sure you want to take off? Because people are always like, what if my drone accidentally turns on? Well, it's in my bag and then it accidentally launches it. And it's like, no, it can't, it won't happen. Or I don't want to say it won't, or it's impossible. It's difficult for that to happen because there are safety things within the drone that will make sure it's like, are you sure you want to launch? Okay, great. This will be a safety mechanism that will help you to know that it's about to launch. And so there are just so many things about drones that have gotten better in safety and easier to fly over time. And yes, DJI, and we'll talk about the drones, they advertise toward mainly adults, but kids are flying them too. And so they just make them very, very simple. And so there are a couple things about drones that I want you to know. One is that the top fear is around crashing, and sensors and obstacle avoidance, we'll talk about that in a second, have become more and more built into the drones, which will help you or give you warnings to help you not crash your drone. The other thing is, as drones have gotten better over time, the flight times have gotten longer. In the old days, like you fly a drone for 7 minutes at a time, and that's it, and then you're out of battery. That's still the case for some of the FPV first-person view drones, but those are still working on technology as well. And also there's actually fewer regulations, especially for the smaller drones than you think. So we'll get into that. I just want you to press pause really quick, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're piloting, you're flying a drone. That's so hard. I think about the first time I ever drove a car. When you drive a car, when you pull out of this parking lot that I'm in right now, I could hit the parking thing in the front. There's probably some cars behind me, and there's probably a median, and there's probably a stop sign, and there's just a lot of options of things that you can hit with a car. The first time I ever drove a car, it was very nerve-wracking, right? It's the same thing with a drone. But we haven't learned to drive a car in a long time. We're adults, and as adults, we don't really give ourselves the opportunity to be like, okay, chill. It's okay to, be a little bit afraid and feel like, oh my gosh, this is difficult and something new. But with a drone, if you fly your drone higher than every tree and every building and every skyscraper around, what can you hit? Nothing. It's significantly easier than driving a car. Why? Because when you drive a car, not only are you learning how to maneuver the car, but now you have to avoid the stop sign and the parking thing and all the median. But when you're flying a drone, once you clear everything, you've got open sky. As long as you stay at that height, you can just focus on navigating and you can focus on flying it around. It's significantly easier than driving a car. From my Drone 101 course, I have something called the twirly, where I walk people through step by step on the exercises on how to learn to fly your drone. And for this one, what we're doing is, you can see where it says height 132. Hold on, where's my little screen thingy? Here we go. Height 132. I've basically cleared everything. I've pointed my gimbal where the drone is looking directly forward. And I'm doing something called a twirly, which is basically I'm just turning around in a complete 360 and I'm seeing if I'm going to hit anything. And the answer to that in this instance was no. So as long as I keep my drone at 132, I am free to fly forward, backwards, left, and right. It's way easier than a car. I don't have to worry about that. And so I share that example because too many people think it's so hard. But don't forget, It's a new technology that maybe you haven't tried yet, and consider that it's easier than driving a car once you clear things. And so one last thing that a lot of people get freaked out about is, oh my gosh, like what do I do if I fly it out of sight and how do I fly it back to me? There's a button on your drone called RTH, which is return to home. You literally push that button and your drone will come back to you. These are the types of safety features that are in there. So if someone is telling you drones are too hard to fly, because that's what everybody told me. I have a podcast episode about why I fly a drone, and I tell this story about how everyone told me I couldn't. I wanted to start with this because most people can't even get to the point we're going to talk about now, which is which drone to consider, because they're so caught up on all the difficulty of flying a drone when there's really no difficulty there. What drone do I fly? This is my sandwich of drones. I used to have one more. Oh, did you crash it? No, I gave it away to another creator. I did a contest, flew her out to Florida, taught her everything I know about drones, and then left her with my drone as she went back to the real world. But these are the drones I fly. This is the Mavic Mini 1, no longer on the market. This is the Mini 3 Pro. This is an Air 2S, and this is an FPV drone in which I have to wear goggles to be able to fly it. We'll talk about here, like, oh, wait, don't worry about writing down any of these names. I will walk you through it. And I also have an Amazon storefront, which I will put into maybe the chat. Actually, after this event, I'll put it into the event page. But basically, it talks about the drones I'm about to show you next. But keep it simple. It's technology. People get caught up in oh, what about this model? What about that model? What about this little spec or this specification? Like, these are the things that you should be asking yourself. How much quality do you actually need? And an example of that is people, 4K, I must have 4K. But most people post their drone stuff on social media, and most people post it at 1080p. So it's like, do you have to pay extra to get that quality? I don't know. So how much quality do you want? Second thing to ask, and you're a creator, where are your photos and videos going? Is it going mostly to TikTok, Instagram, vertical platforms? Do you need to have a vertical drone, a drone that shoots vertically? Maybe. That's the next question to ask. Editing is very easy in my opinion. 3, where are you flying? If you're flying in the mountains, over the ocean and windy places, outdoors and vast places where you might have a lot of weather, you might want a bigger drone. A lot of these drones always talk about like how they're wind resistance level 5. Like, what does that mean? At the end of the day, something that is heavier in the air will perform better than something that is flying and light in the air, right? Think about just making a paper plane, throwing it across the room. If you did it with a Post-it note versus if you did it with an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, they're going to fly differently across the room. Just think about it that way. Where is the footage going? Where is the footage going? Are you sending this footage, friends and family? You're a creator. Is it just going to social media, 1080p? Or is it going to projects where 4K might not be enough and you need 5.4K or maybe even more than that? And so these are the key questions I tell people to ask themselves. And just as a quick example, if you're like, oh, do I need 4K? I did this entire series of this versus that, where it was posting all my drone shots to social media. And I just let people guess. Was this a cheap drone or an expensive drone? How cheap of a drone? How expensive of a drone? And I think of it like wine, where people just blindly guess and have no clue. No one could ever guess which of the shots was shot with the cheapest drone and which shots were shot with the most expensive drone. And my cheapest drone, which now if it was priced, if I were to sell it on the aftermarket now, I'd probably get like $20 for it. If it were to come back to the market, it'd probably be priced at like $150 US. That drone, which did not shoot 4K, that footage went on the front of a tourism board magazine. So I just want you to not get caught up, because a lot of people get caught up on the quality. Because look at this slide. Like, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of drones on there. And do you actually need to go through all of these drones, or do you just need to start here. This is how I simplify things for people. And what you see on the screen is 90% of the time, the drone that most people end up getting. And let me just walk you through really quickly what you're looking at, because I don't want you to get caught up on the actual models, but I want you to understand the general price points of where things are at. This is, the reason why I'm using DJI, and if you look in the news, we'll talk about this later, about the DJI ban is, and I don't think they're going to be banned, by the way, is because they own over 80% of the consumer market. They're a Chinese brand, and they just did everything right with drones, which is why they're dominating the consumer market right now. DJI drones are made for the consumer. Everything else that's out there is not even close. I am not sponsored at all by DJI. I have flown non-DJI drones, and every single person who I've flown their non-DJI drone, they buy a DJI drone in the end. It always happens. There's just too many safety features in there that make it easy. But the first thing I want you to look at is this price point. How much is a GoPro? A GoPro is $499. You can get a drone for $279. That's amazing. This is the opening price point drone. It has the least amount of sensors on it. So safety, you might just want to learn a little bit more. We'll show you some tactics on how to learn in advance before you even fly the drone. You might want to spend a little bit more time there, but this is your 2.7K drone. It's a fantastic starting place. When you come into being a creator, I would say if you're selling footage, you basically start here and beyond. And the questions you're asking yourself are, do you need it to shoot vertically all the time? Because you're going to be creating so much content, you don't want to edit it to be vertical. Then you might consider a vertically flying drone. And then we get into the larger drones, which is the air drones, or moving into the pro drones. And this is where I'm looking at things like, I am flying in Hawaii near the waterfalls where there's a lot of wind, or I am flying, near canyons in Ethiopia when I was there. Like my mini drone, it did not perform in the wind at all, but my air drones performs extremely well. Or are you someone who, these are going to be blown up, huge photos that are printed. I'm selling to magazines. I'm selling to tourism boards that are putting this in their printed materials. You might want the very pro drones for things like that. But I would say the majority of creators I know who get work and do work on the regular with their drones are right here in the Mini 3 and the Air 3 drone. So this is kind of the landscape of them. And so before you get caught up on the what do I do? Before you get a drone, here are things I do not want you to do. And when I see people do these things, it literally hurts my eyeballs or pains my ears. The first thing, a lot of people will recommend this. Don't go buy a cheap drone and practice. Even if that drone is $20, it will fly nothing like an actual drone. It's not a good use of money. I'd rather you go buy a really nice glass of champagne and plus tax, plus gratuity, that gets you to $20 right there. Don't buy the cheap drone. Instead, download the free DJI flight simulator. And on your phone, literally, as though you're flying a drone, you just practice in there. And you can practice. And it's just like flying a drone because it's a simulator. Go try that out. It should take you 2 minutes to download it, 1 minute to set up, and 2 minutes to get a feel for what it's like. That's 5 minutes. Do that. That's less time than you would spend looking for a cheap drone. Don't worry about the laws. Too many people are like, nope. I don't know what the laws are, but I know they're going to be way too hard to navigate. I don't want to do that. Then spend an hour. Go take the free trust test. It's the trust test. It was put out by the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, and it's a free online test that every person who flies a drone is supposed to take. I'll also say 90% of people who fly drones don't even know exists. But what is it? It walks you through all the drone laws. It helps you to understand what they are, and you take a multiple choice exam to bring you through it. And what does that do? All the fears that you think you will have about flying a drone, it will answer them for you. Plus, you got to do this work anyway because you're supposed to if you buy a drone. It will take you through things like, what does it mean to be 249 grams? And it's a toy drone. what does it mean that you have to be more greater than 16 years old? Oh, if you fly a drone over 55 pounds, you won't. It has to be blah, blah, blah. It'll take you through all of that. So don't spend time worrying about the laws. Do just go over to the Trust FAA website, take the test really quick, or just skim it at the very least. It will reduce your worry. Don't wonder if you can fly there. Oh, Christine, I'm not even going to get started because I live near fill in the blank. Oh, Christine, I want to travel to fill in the blank place, but I bet I'm not allowed to fly a drone there. Why don't you just go to the DJI Fly Safe database online, a free website, type in the address. It's just like Google Maps, and just click around and it will tell you if you can or can't fly there, right? And so what I'm trying to do here is there are steps you can take before getting a drone to make sure it's the right choice for you. These top 3 things that I don't want you to do is the majority of what stops 99% of people I know from flying a drone. There are very simple ways. Everything on the right, virtual flight simulator, the trust test, the DJI Fly Safe database. It won't take you more than a couple hours. So consider doing that. And the other things, people are like, well, I should choose a drone based off of, I'm carry-on only. I want to make sure that it fits in my bag. And so the 2 that I want you to look at in this picture are this one here and this one up here. And these two bags, so this little thing right here and this little bag right here are more or less the same size. And I mean, I could probably even reduce it down even further. My point here is between the mini drone and the air drone, or even the mini drone and the big pro drone, there's not a lot of difference. We're talking about like a pound, 1 pound, which I guess 1 pound is a lot when you're doing Pilates. But generally speaking, I would like to dissuade you from picking a drone based on the size. Go back to the questions that I asked before and focus on that. And I also have a quick 5-question personality quiz. You can do that. I'll drop that, I guess, in the event thing as well. But do the personality quiz and it will help you figure out okay, what's the right drone for you? So I talked about some of the non-DJI drones. Again, DJI has just really focused on the consumer experience. For those who are like, what's happening with the DJI ban? It's still in the works right now. Basically, it has passed the House and is currently in the Senate. And what I think it means, and we did a huge debate, and I did a recap of what it means in the Drone Party Facebook group, where you're welcome to join us, whether you have a drone or not, or considering it. Tons of experienced people in there talking about it. The takeaways from the DJI ban are: 1, if it happens, it basically means it's going to become way more expensive and a little bit harder to buy a DJI drone. It's happening because DJI is owning the market, and because between TikTok and DJI and we're not going to talk politics. Anyway, China's owning a lot of things. The second thing it means is if you have a DJI drone today, you're just going to keep flying it. There might be some changes around what personal data, your flight data, is being sent where. But for me, am I worried about it? I am 1% worried about it. In other words, I'm not worried about it really at all. And so that's just something to be aware of. Here's, I just want to share this quick story. This is a cheap drone that a friend of mine recently bought. She flew my drone and she was like, wow, these 2 things don't fly the same at all. And when you're like, what do you mean? An example would be, these cheap drones cannot take any wind usually. And so normally every time she would launch the drone, I would just start walking in the direction of the wind. Why? Because it would fly for 3 seconds and then it would just be taken by the wind and then would hit a tree, which is why it has these propeller protectors. It would hit a tree and then I would just get it and then walk it back to her. That's what we did for an hour. And I'm like, I hope you understand you're wasting my time and your own. So I recommend you avoid cheap drones. If you want to practice, find someone like myself who will let you fly their drone or get into that simulator. I just want to show you this screen really quick about safety. So the more sensors, the more obstacle avoidance that you choose on your drone. And for me, I turn off obstacle avoidance 90% of the time I fly. It hinders me more than helps me. But in the same way that if you go ride a bike, having tricycle wheels are available to you, or if you go bowling, having bumpers are available to you. These obstacle avoidance features are available to you in some of the drones, most of the drones. And what it means is if you're about to hit the tree, your drone will stop. It will just stop and it won't go any further, even if you try to force it to go forward. Until you turn off obstacle avoidance, it will not go hit that tree. It also has ones where it bypasses and goes around, which is what you see on the screen here. But at the same time, it's technology, right? Your phone ever pooped out? Your Instagram account ever be like, oh, wow, I need to update the app, or, oh, this technology is not working, or fill in the blank. It's also technology. So I don't depend on these things to work 100% of the time, but these are things that are available and are making drones easier than ever. This, we're going to talk about work in just a minute, but an example of a job that I had flying drones was, it was my job to just film and find manta rays with my drones. I lived in the Maldives on a really awesome yacht for a month doing that, and it was probably one of the most fun projects I've ever been on. It was amazing. And so I just want to give that example of that's the type of work that you can get with a drone. But let's talk about drone laws, because they're way easier than you think. And so the first thing that holds people back is they're like, oh, well, I have to get a license, right? I have to register my drone and get a license, right? No, you don't. The thing I always recommend is start with the things, the simulator, the trust test. If it all makes sense, get your drone. Get your drone, then learn to fly it. Once you find work, then go look into the drone license stuff. And basically I say that because a lot of people will add this as one of the things that hold them back and hold them down. No, there's so much to do about this drone stuff. And I'm not an advocate for breaking the law, but when you need a drone license? If you're getting paid for your drone work. You need a drone license if and only if there is some exchange of value. That means you are inspecting a roof and someone's going to pay you $20 to inspect their roof. You took a photo. You're going to sell that photo to a tourism board. Technically, you're supposed to have a drone license. In the many projects I have done for drones, I have been asked for my license once. I'm just going to share that story because too many people make it a stopping point from getting a drone. And also you got to make sure you can go find the jobs as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. But getting a drone license is one thing, but getting your pilot's license is one thing. Separately is registering your drone. You basically have to register your drone if you have a larger drone. If you have the mini drones, it was a really great loophole for DJI to say, oh, this is actually a toy, so you don't have to register it. It's kind of like, if you get a bicycle, you don't have to register your electric bike, but you do need to go register with the DMV your moped. So basically, the mini is like the electric bike. The larger drones, and I'm talking about the Air, the Mavic Pro drones, those ones are bigger, and you have to pay a whopping $5 to go register it with the FAA. And so keep it simple. Licensing, registering stuff, that all comes later. Focus on getting the drone first, practice with it, get familiar with it. The number of times I've been approached by law enforcement and was like, can I see your registration for your drone? Has been zero. Why? The majority of law enforcement doesn't even know that you're supposed to register your drone. So drones are newer in the space. Don't let these things get you caught up in moving forward because drones are too fun. These are the overview of the drone laws that are in place that you need to know about. So the first one, there exists, and you've heard me talk about it before, something called drone maps. It looks just like Google Maps, where you're looking to see, oh, the White House is there. I can't fly there. Oh, there's a jail. I'm not supposed to fly near the jail, right? And it's helping you to identify and see these things and understand what you can and cannot do in those places. In places where it's free reign, it's not near an airport, it's not near a jail, it's not near anything like that, you're allowed by law to fly your drone up to 400 feet. That is the level of airspace that you are allowed to fly a drone, 400 feet. The next law is that you are technically supposed to be able to see your drone at all times. It doesn't mean you lock eyes in this loving way with your drone and never stop staring at it. It just means if you're flying a drone and you look up, you should be able to say, ah, there's my drone. Or if you dropped your controller and you pick up your controller and you look up, oh, there's my drone. You're supposed to be able to see your drone at all times. The next thing, and I kind of generally wrote this as common sense. There are places where you are just not allowed to fly drones. And generally there's a lot of posted information about it, but I'm going to bring you through two simple examples. One, national parks. Well, but I'm going to go hike in the Grand Canyon. How come I can't fly my drone there? A national park is protected land where they want nature to be the focus, and they are protecting that space. Drones will bother wildlife. Drones will make birds fly away from their nests and never return. Drones will not be the soundtrack of someone who's hiking in Yosemite. It's not what they want to hear. Drones are a disruption to this protected land. That's why you can't fly a drone there. A lot of people don't understand that. That's not all the reasons why, but the majority of the reasons why. Another common sense one. But it would be so cool to fly at Disneyland. If I flew at Disneyland, I could send my drone through the roller coaster that a 2-year-old child is on and then get this really cool aerial shot of them screaming while they're on the roller coaster. Disneyland is it has its own police, right? And not only that, they have kids there. And it's also, Disneyland is not part of just the open, free Vaughn's, Lucky's, or Ralph's parking lot. Disneyland is an owned property by Disneyland. And so they have their own rules and laws. A lot of people don't understand why they're not allowed to fly in these spaces. Yes, in both situations, you can get permissions from Disneyland, from the National Park Service to fly a drone, absolutely. But generally speaking, use your common sense. A lot of people don't understand why they can't fly at a historical ruin or at the pyramids in Egypt. And these are protected places. And so common sense. Trust. I recommend the recreational UAS safety test. We've already talked about that. That's another great place to start to understand the more in-depth drone laws. But at a high level, this is what you need to know. 400 feet. Keep your eyes on the drone. Use common sense. Boom. That's it. That's all you got to know. In my opinion, if you know those 3 things, that took me through my first 1.5 years of flying my drone just fine. Then I started getting into weird nuanced situations, but that's because I've flown my drone more times than days I've owned my drone. Most people are like, oh, Christine, but how about blah, blah, blah? And it's how many times have you flown your drone? They're 5. I'm I've flown my drone thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Of course I'm going to get in these weird situations. I fly a lot and everywhere around the world. And so what you see here is an example of me, and this is on my phone. You can look at all these drone maps on your phone, and I'm clicking around and showing you, this is the Miami area. I was planning out where I was going to go fly. And this is from my my drone course, my Drone 101 course. I take you through how to look at it, and this is a step-by-step in which you do it with me. So you are going to be pulling up where you are at, and we do it together. And so drone maps are significantly easier than you think. Just want you to know a lot of things I'm talking about are on my YouTube channel. Drone safety is in there, and I have a lot of playlists that kind of break out different aspects of what you need to know about drones. I also have over 100 Instagram reels, about drone tips. You can find that obviously on my Instagram account. All right. There's also the Drone Party Facebook group. If y'all don't recognize where we're actually at Wanderfest by Wanderful. There's Beth right there in the house. Actually, so the part that I edited is right here. It's yep, there we go. Love that. Fly through, and then a reveal. I would speed ramp this part. But basically, what I want you to know from this is there's a whole community of people in the Drone Party Facebook group. You are welcome to join us over there. Let's spend the next couple minutes talking about how you can get some work with your drone. And this presentation, this part of the presentation, I'm going to give you a high level of some of the things as a travel creator that drones have done for me. Because like I said in the beginning, drones have been one of the easiest ways for me to get work. But I first want to start with drones are part of your toolbox. Too many people think that it's just the drone. All I need is a drone. And it's like, to make a fantastic dinner, you don't, well, unless it's a steak, you normally need more than one ingredient. You need the other things in the toolbox to be part of your arsenal to rock out getting the job and doing the job. And so I want to start with that because too often people think they only need a drone, but there's so much more than that. Now, honestly, I don't really feel like I need to tell you all that because you are travel creators. So selling your footage, getting hotel stays, free or paid, getting free or paid travel, using drone content within your own content, and being able to open the door to other opportunities are some of the things we're going to talk about. Selling your footage. I have really mixed feelings about this. I'm sure if you're already a creator and doing photography, sometimes when you sell your footage on stock sites, I'm talking about the Getty's images or Black Box is an aggregator that pushes it out to a lot of places. It can be a lot of work on the back end, on the SEO, on the getting found part. And sometimes your footage will sell for pennies, and sometimes your footage will sell extremely well. And so that's just something that I want you to know is available to you, that some people do. And obviously you can also sell your footage to your own audience. You can put them onto mugs, you can put them onto framed canvases, you can do all the things. But selling your footage is an option that some creators do. It's one thing I tried in the beginning, wasn't something I loved, but is something that a lot of people start with. I want to just speak really quickly about this shot. This is an example of how this historical place within Oahu is a protected area. It's the same thing as going to the zoo. So you're technically not allowed to fly a drone inside of this spot. In the same way, when you go to the zoo, you don't look at the lion by going inside of its cage and petting it. How do you look at the lion? From behind the bars, from behind the cage. How do I take a photo or a video of this historical spot? From not inside of it. And so I stepped just outside the area of the maps that said I'm not allowed to fly there, put the drone straight up, had it look at the lion or this place in Oahu, and then I took the photo. Does that make sense? Like, it doesn't have to be this really complicated thing of like, oh, well, now there's no way I'm going to be able to capture. Yosemite was another example. I went to Yosemite. I obviously can't fly in the national park. It looks just like the national park, just outside the national park. So as soon as we were outside of the boundaries, flew my drone straight up, took a picture. It looked just like Yosemite. And to the point where in my content, I had to tell people the exact coordinates of where I flew so they could understand it was not Yosemite because everyone thought it was Yosemite. So selling your stock footage is an option. The second thing, I mean, I put free here, but paid is another example. It's really easy to get free hotel stays with a drone. Why? Because every hotel wants an aerial shot of their property. I mean, think about it. If a place has drone photography, videography, it will be the first thing that you see on their homepage. If you open their homepage, it is not there, or it's not on the first few pages, they don't have it, which is a great way and quick, easy way to be like, I should go work with that place. And so here's an example of a photo that I took at a hotel and had a fantastic stay. I was literally just, and again, going back to your travel creator, figuring out the deliverables, all the things. For this campaign, it was simply a brand new property. They wanted to tell, there are certain stories they wanted to tell, one of which was how you can hang out there and have a girls' kind of getaway at this hotel. And so I invited a girlfriend in. We had a great time, ate, drank, stayed on property for free, and took some fun drone photos. Another thing that's really easy is free or paid travel. It was one of the ways that I got in with one of the partners that I work with a lot, which is Virgin Voyages. I have been on their ship for over 60 days in total, and I'm going to spend half this month on that ship shooting more content, which is fantastic. I don't work directly with them anymore. I found a more lucrative way to work on that. But Virgin Voyages has been a place where I have gotten their attention with my drone shots, and that led to me being able to work with them and getting a lot of free travel with them. I have done that in a lot of places. The majority of the trips I take are as a result of getting their attention with my drone shots, reaching out to them, offering one for free, closing a paid deal later. And so that's just transparently how I do a lot of my own business. My drone shots are always my establishing shots. I'm primarily a YouTuber, so I've been talking about my drone YouTube channel. Don't forget about that. But I'm a travel YouTuber first. And the majority of my first shots that I show are aerial shots. Why? There's no better way to establish a shot, establish what you're talking about, establish your story, than being able to see it from a bird's eye view, the whole thing. Then you dive into the details. Again, the drone is part of your toolbox. So using it within my own content. This was a bad slide because I am right next to some manatees, and that was how I got a bunch of work with this tourism board. Was I got their attention with my drone, doing shots of myself aerial with manatees, and then later worked with them for years. It's fantastic. So I had it in my own content. It's a great establishing shot, or it can just be a fun way to tell stories on Instagram or on any social channel, right? Hey, I went for a hike. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you could show the sweaty video of Christine hiking up the mountain, but how cool is it to have this establishing shot of like, oh, okay, like that's what you hiked. Wow, that's kind of steep. That's a lot of stairs. If I tell the story, I went up a lot of stairs on today's hike. This tells you the story in literally a single shot, and you cannot take that same shot with your phone. Yes, I could stand at the top of the stairs and try to take it looking down, but there's 500 other people on those stairs. And so an aerial shot, right now at that moment, I'm sitting right here taking this aerial shot. Very easy. My drone, I'm keeping visual line of sight. My drone is not higher than 400 feet. Ooh, here's a little caveat. 400 feet above ground level. What does that mean? If I launch my drone from the top of this mountain, I can go an additional 400 feet versus launching it at the bottom of this mountain. How high can I go at that point? Probably to the top of the mountain, right? So 400 feet from the place in which I launch at, and don't worry, it will tell you. When you launch your drone, it starts at 0. So you can simply see that it's going up. Don't forget, even if you do forget to put the safety little feature on there, the woman will tell you, like, you have exceeded 400 feet, blah, blah, blah. She'll tell you, don't worry. So telling stories on Instagram is a great story. Hey, I went kayaking today in Oahu. Cool. Like, what was it like? Boom. Clear water. This is me hanging out on the kayak. Yes, I launched from the kayak. It's significantly easier to hand launch and land than you think. So using it for my own content. I told some stories about how I opened the door. And for me, a lot of times I am traveling to a place that maybe I'm there for a hotel deal, but I want to work with a tourism board. I'm already flying my drone anyway. I'm also just flying my drone in general every day. And so I send the drone, and at the same time, like, I'm looking at this, my job is to take a picture of this, take videos of this, cool, done, boom, turn around, take some pictures of that, post about it on social media, tag the right places that are relevant to this. Maybe it's another hotel, maybe it's the tourism board, maybe it's something else, and get their attention, tag them in. Make sure they see that content. And when I say tag them in, I'm blasting that on every channel. It's going to Twitter, it's going to Threads, it's going to Instagram, it's going to fill in the blank, like Facebook. It's going everywhere. They can't not see that I'm posting these things and tagging them. And again, if a place doesn't have aerial footage yet, they want it. Think about how many people you know right now that fly a drone. Count them on your hand. Now, how many people do you know who are creators that shoot with their iPhone? Count them on your hand. Everyone shoots with an iPhone. How many people shoot with a drone? Not that many. The demand is out there, and there's not enough of us flying drones. I will also admit, I mean, Wanderful is a lot of female creators in here. Being a female drone pilot, we are the minority. I need to go grab the updated numbers, but less than 15% of drone pilots are female. It's a very small number, super, super small. We need way more women in the space. Being able to say you were a female drone pilot, here's the yacht that I was on, got me on that project, right? That day, we were shooting something else. Boom, ran upstairs real quick, stuck a flower crown on my head, grabbed the sarong I was wearing, waved it, took a quick picture for myself, and did a brand deal with that sarong. That brand is someone I still work with today. How did I get there? How did I get that deal? Because I posted a previous photo and got their attention, and then we started working together. That's me on the right in Ethiopia with my mini drone that performed extremely poorly in the wind. Goes back to how are you going to use your drone and what do you need? So I'm going to talk you through just a couple of my resources really quick. At christinelozada.com/drones, you'll find all of my drone resources, whether it's my YouTube channel, my Instagram reels. I also have courses, both free courses as well as paid courses that take you through how to fly a drone like a pro. And coming this year is literally how to get work with your drone. And so those 3 courses, paid as well as free courses, will be in there as well. On my YouTube channel, I have over 100 drone YouTube videos or tutorials, anything from, remember when I told you, just push a button and it will RTH, return to home. I will talk you through exactly how to do that. Looking at the maps. Oh my gosh, like I can't see my drone right now and I don't want to push the return to home button, but how do I know where it's at? A lot of people don't even know maps within your drone exist and how to look at that really quickly. And the video of my mom flying a drone, that's in there as well. Keep it super, super simple. And so those are some of the things that are on my YouTube channel. Everything's organized by playlists. I'm at Christine Lozada everywhere. On Instagram right now, I have over 100 drone reels with more of them coming. And so that's something that you can check out as well. And you can connect with me here in the Wanderful community. They have the ability to chat somebody or send them a message. You can catch me there or send me a DM. I'm at Christine Lozada everywhere. Oh, that's what I got for you today. Akemi, I see you in the chat. I know this is recorded. So if you are watching this after the fact, I will drop some of those resources, I don't know, somewhere in the community. It'll be helpful and findable. Thank you, Akemi. Thank you for having me, everybody. I'm Christine Lozada. Love drones. They're so much fun. Thank you, Nelia. Drones are so much easier than you think. And they're so much fun to fly. And actually, I'll leave you with one quick story before I wrap up here, which is a lot of people don't realize that drones, I mean, think about it. We are travelers. I'm a traveler first, and then I'm the creator and all the other things second. And so one of the stories I like to share is, why do we hike? Why do we sit at the window seat on an airplane? Why do we bother paying for the $20 cocktail in New York City to go to the rooftop? It's for that bird's eye view. It's for that view, right? As high up as you can. And drones have made me the laziest person ever in the best way possible, because now I can always get that view with the push of a button. And it's helped me as a traveler and as an explorer who's very curious to be able to see and appreciate the places I fly to so much more easily, and in a way that, you know, I can quietly enjoy it myself. It's amazing without having to do the hike or have to do any of the other things. So I'm Christine Lozada, and I will see y'all. I'll see y'all around the community.